So here's my thing about UFC 294. It's a banger card from start to finish. Oliveira versus Makhachev is going to be just an insane headlining card, and I'm excited to see it. But we also have Paulo Costa versus Khamzat Chimaev. Did I say that right? I don't know. But underneath that, because we're not talking about those fights, there are two fighters. Nassourdine Imavov, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Nassourdine Imavov
is fighting Ikram Aliskerov, which I believe is how you pronounce that as well. Ikram versus Nassourdine. These are two talented fighters. Two young men, I believe. Shoot, cut out all of this. Nassourdine versus Ikram. Talented fight between these two fighters. They're both up-and-comer middleweights. Nassourdine is 27, I believe, and Ikram is 30. So these guys are both still reaching their prime, and they got a lot of years of fighting left. Nassourdine recently fought Sean Strickland, who we all know, in a crazy upset, defeated Israel Adesanya to become the middleweight champion of the world. It's crazy. Nassourdine did lose to Strickland, obviously, but he did win a round, and another round was close, so talented? Just to say. Ikram is coming off a win, just an absolute insane knockout of Phil Hayes. Hawes? Phil Hawes. I'll say Phil. He's coming off a knockout of Phil. Just an absolute, it was a back and forth fight, and he just pops him, and Phil just drops. Dies, dare I say, close to death. Nassourdine did actually fight Phil Hawes, and it ended up being a majority decision win for Phil. But we all know that MMA math doesn't work. You cannot count on one fighter beating another one who fought this guy. It's MMA math. It don't work. You can't add it up. But Ikram is coming into the fight a betting favorite, -120. And Nassourdine is +100. And I'm not a betting man, so I don't even really know what these mean. I don't. All I know is that it's leaning towards Ikram, but it's not like gonna be a blowout. It's what the bettors are thinking. And I agree with them. Ikram is coming off a 6-fight win streak. Pretty crazy for a middleweight. While Nassourdine is coming off a loss and also a no contest to Chris Curtis. I didn't have time to just go watch that fight, but I did watch some highlights and some stats, and Nassourdine was winning that fight between Chris Curtis. So it was a no contest because a clash of heads, I believe, in Chris. Nassourdine was winning that fight, and I believe that it would have added to his record a win. But his loss that he is actually coming off of is against Strickland, who we all, again, know, super talented. So you can't really blame him a whole lot. And it was a close fight between striker. And then with their losses, one of the things that I wanted to point out is that Ikram has only lost once. One time has he been defeated, and who has he lost to? Someone who's fighting right above him on the card in Khamzat Chimaev. Everybody knows this fella. And Ikram's only loss is to him. It was a brutal uppercut KO that just laid Ikram out flat. Absolutely out flat. The thing about Nassourdine's losses that I wanted to bring out is that he's actually never been knocked out. He's lost majority, and he's been submitted once, I believe. But everything else, his losses make it to a decision, and he loses that decision. But he's never been knocked out. Will this be the first? The fighting style for Ikram, I believe, is kind of a brawler. He throws heavy. I remember watching that Phil fight, and I was like, man, he's not looking good. And then it was bam, it was over. He's got power in those hands. He's got bombs. While Nassourdine, he's more of a striker tactician. He knows how to pick his shots really well. I believe he's pretty good at counter striking. Has a very good fundamental basis of striking, and that has allowed him to beat other brawlers like Buckley. He's a heavy-handed fella. And Nassourdine was able to get a decision win over him. I was kind of hoping in researching this video that Nassourdine laid him out cold or submitted him or something like that, but that was not the case. Kind of diminished my confidence a little bit. because I feel like Phil Hayes and Ikram could be pretty similar. I think Ikram also, speaking on his skills, both of these guys are talented on the ground. These guys go for submissions, they get submissions, they don't look lost on the ground. And if you go back and watch the fight between Ikram and Hamzat, Hamzat is widely known for his wrestling basis. Ikram put up a great defense on that. If you look on the comments, people are like, dang, never seen him work this hard for a takedown before. Part of Nassourdine's game plan to defeat Buckley was using his tactical strikes and his ground game. He picked Buckley apart on the feet, take him down after Buckley was trying to defend his face and head and body. A lot of takedowns, there's a lot of work on the ground, and he won the fight fair and square. Now, do we think that Nassourdine can do that here with Ikram, who I believe is a better grappler, wrestler, whatever? He's better at the ground game than Buckley is. So will Nassourdine have as much success? We will see. And I think that is the key to Nassourdine upsetting Ikram's rise to the top. Is Nassourdine is going to have to use his tactical strikes and counter strikes, pick his shots well, have his defense up, because if he gets hit by one of Ikram's shots, it could be over just like that. Snap of a finger. He's got to be the right amount of aggressive here. He can't over push and let his guard go down, because then he's going to get slept. But he also can't just let Ikram push the pace, because if you look at Nassourdine's fight, he wins a lot of the fights because he's pushing the pace that he wants. He's making the other people fight on the back foot. Some of the things I think that we can watch for in the fight is I think we're going to see a first round finish in this fight. That's my prediction. Who's it going to be, you ask? I don't know the future, but between both of these fighters, there's a combination of 13 finishes in the first round. Nassourdine has 3 TKOs, maybe KOs, I don't know, and 4 submissions on his record in the first round. While Ikram, he's got 3 TKOs and 3 submissions in the first round. These guys are talented at going in the first round, pushing their pace, making their opponent feel uncomfortable, and finding that opportunity to finish by knocking them down. These guys are talented. Another thing that we can watch for is a knockdown into a submission attempt. Will that work? Might not, but I can almost guarantee you we're going to see that at one point in this fight. One of the fighters is going to get dropped, and the other opponent, instead of trying to go for ground and pound like others would, I think you're going to see them go into a submission attempt. Try and get a rear naked, try and get other kinds of submissions. But I think we're going to see those two things. I think we're going to see a first round finish. Probably, if it's not a drop dead KO, it'll most likely be a submission attempt resulting in a submission. So it could be a TKO. But Nassourdine, what's he got to do to win? I believe he's got to stay tactical, and I think he could pick apart Ikram because Ikram's defense isn't always there. Oftentimes, Ikram, when he pushes in and he charges forward, his right arm, his guard arm drops. And that's an opportunity for Nassourdine to capitalize on and find a piece. I saw one of his fights where he just sat his opponent down with the left hand because his opponent dropped his guard for a moment. So overall, I think it's going to be a really close fight. I think either fighter could take home the win. Ikram is obviously rising to the top of the middleweight division, and I think Nassourdine could be the one to slow that progress up by getting a first round finish. My prediction for the fight is I don't know who's going to win, but I'm going to be rooting for Nassourdine. I think I like rooting for the underdogs. I hope we see a finish in the first round. I think that's would be fun. So that's my thing. Thanks for listening. See you next time.